Douglas and Dig, it's your man Dak 908, aka the Dig Dug himself. We are playing some Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate today and tonight, or today, or this afternoon, whatever. I'm not judging. We are going to fight the Khezu. Now, the Khezu is another old school monster, another really weird monster. He has a lot of nicknames. A lot of people like this guy for reasons that personally I honestly cannot explain, but I'm not here to judge. I'm here to tell you how to actually fight the monster, and it's actually kind of easy, truth be told, because the one thing that Khezu likes to do is he likes to follow a pattern. And that particular pattern isn't very hard to actually adapt to or even overcome. The one thing I will say that is kind of a bummer is that every now and then he'll throw a small wrench into your situation, ruining the pattern, ruining any means of attack that you had before. I mean this simply because when fighting him with the great sword, you really want to actually hit him with the whammy, and you totally can hit him with the whammy, but every now and then he'll go in with the random tail whip. The tail whip always hits twice, because this is Monster Hunter. They hit twice. Actually, it was Generations where I think a couple of tail whips only hit once, but for the most part, tail whips hit twice. And he'll throw it out there, and it'll mess up all the feng shui you had prior. Anyway, what I'm talking about is he has a couple of moves that are very, very slow to come out. You can see them from a mile away. But he only really gets into his own element when he actually gets to a cave. Now, here's the thing. You don't want him to get to the cave, because when he gets to the cave, that's when he starts to climb on the walls. He starts to do a lot of weird stuff. He'll actually has a pinning attack. He'll dribble some weird saliva stuff on you. It actually ruin you. I think it actually paralyze you, truth be told. So long as you don't have to fight him in the cave, you should be in relatively good hands. I know this isn't the best video to actually accommodate that because we only got to fight him in the cave once, and once he got into the cave, I actually killed him. So if you can actually only fight him in the areas where there is no cave, you'll be in good hands. You'll be doing very well for yourself, because again, once he gets into the cave, that's where he really starts to come into himself and has quite a few really interesting and unique attacks that makes it really hard to actually fight him and annoying to fight fast. So anyway, with that being said, let's talk about some of the little actions that he can do, aka the attacks. So he can roar. He's actually your first monster you'll come across that actually has a high-grade earplug Reveleak. What? It is required. Reveleak? Required? How did that, what? Anyway, high-grade earplugs. You're gonna need those to block his roar, or a shield, or something, you know? But he's the first one that you'll come across that's like that, but that's not the big issue. The big issue today is how to avoid his thunder attacks. Well, as I said before, a lot of the attacks come very often. You can really see them coming. It's very pattern. He'll do his discharge attack, his discharging thundering attack, usually 2 times in a row, sometimes up to 3. I've seen him do it 4 times in a row one time. It was really, really crazy. It was on the stream. But once he does that, if you actually have Brave or Adapt or any kind of way to actually get through, or you block it, once you block the first hit, you can walk in the field of the attack and you'll be good to go, because the field itself doesn't actually affect you because it's a one-hitting attack. And if you block the hit or evaded the hit, you're free to go. So, and the attack is usually only on startup unless you've already been hit with it one way or another. So that's one way to actually get across that. If you block it or dodge it or brave through it or whatever, you should be fine. Jump back in there and do the most damage you can to it. Now he has another attack where he shoots thunderballs out forward in a fan pattern. It starts off as one big lob and will actually stretch up to 3 different balls and actually go into a fan pattern. If you see him attempt to do this, run all the way like horizontally. Okay, don't run vertical from him. Don't run directly away from him. Run out away from him, like across to the side or something like that, so that way you can actually break that arc. But for the most part, he is a monster who doesn't really move around. He doesn't move around. So, I mean, getting into them cheeks like a wedgie is something you can do fairly easy. And I highly recommend you do that. And if you are going to do that, I wouldn't necessarily get into them cheeks, because that's actually not the highest hit zone. What is the highest hit zone is actually his neck, if you can believe that. It's his neck, then again followed by his head. And if you're going to hit any of these areas, do it with fire. And literally just fire. It's like his only weakness, truth be told. So if you have a Khezu weapon, which you might have one right now, you can totally use it to come in here and beat my man upside the head with. Whoops, upside your head. Anyway, now let's talk about his other stuff. His armor, trash. Okay, so his weapons are actually very good. He has some dual blades that actually gives you thunder and paralysis. So one blade will have thunder on it, the other will have paralysis on it. So it's actually really cool. You can paralyze and do some thunder damage at the same time. It isn't super duper useful. I mean, I like it because it's kind of cool, but it's a personal thing for me. It again, like, you can paralyze other monsters quicker with other weapons, but it's kind of cool. It's a unique little thing. His greatsword is actually very good. It has a high amount of thunder on it as well. Most of his weapons have a very good amount of thunder. It's just that his gun lance actually got nerfed, I think, 2 games ago, and it's been actually 100% crap ever since then. So if you're actually going to use any of his weapons, they're fairly good for thunder up until you get to like laggy or maybe Zinogre or something like that. Or there's a couple of weapons out there that actually use ore for the most part. It'll be 100% ore and then out of nowhere like some electro sack. And actually to get electro sack you need to fight this man. So I kind of grouped that in together with it being a Khezu weapon or something like that. So those weapons that are based off of his materials, they're fairly decent. They will hold you down because shortly after fighting this guy and a couple others, you actually have to fight the Raytheon, whom of which is actually very susceptible to thunder. So always pack some thunder when fighting that old gal. But we're gonna get to her when we get to her later on. But for the most part, that's pretty much all I can really tell you about the Khezu. I mean, I did talk about a couple of his attacks. He has a few other ones, like he can extendo his neck and then reach out and touch somebody. But again, the fact that he is not he doesn't really move much, can make fighting him the first time, even the second a couple of times, fairly easy. He doesn't truly get difficult until like much later in a game like G rank, where for the most part, it's not so much. He'll be in these areas that's wide open where he doesn't have anywhere to actually run to and utilize the fact that he can cling to walls and things like that. But when he does, well, he does. You know, I mean, I hate that kind of like that particular speech setup. Like you will say because something isn't good, and you'll give a reason why it's not good in a certain thing. But when you say it is there, you just say everything you just said applies to that now. You know what I mean? It's like, here's 10 reasons why this thing sucks when it's not in the cave. But when it gets in the cave, those 10 reasons are actually why it's good. You know, it's kind of weird. I don't know, but I'm not doing a very good job of this commentary thing. Anyway, so like I said, that is Khezu. Not very difficult so long as he's not in the cave. And when he's not in the cave, he doesn't really move very far, doesn't really move very fast. You can do a lot of damage to him. It takes really truly no effort. He won't really retreat to any of the caves in here until like, well, unless you're not doing enough damage, and he'll just flee for the fleeing sake, or he'll leave to go to sleep when he's close to death or whatever. So just do what you can to do as much damage you can as possible early on. Later, when you do have to fight him again, you might fight him in cave areas, more notably somewhere in like the marshlands rather, where he spends almost 99% of the time in the cave. That's where he's actually able to climb walls and things like that. So if you are going to fight a Khezu, he can climb the walls. He can stick to them and get to the ceiling. He will attack you from these locations. He'll throw balls of thunder at you. He'll try to grab you with his long, reachy neck. I mean, it gets pretty weird when you fight him in a cave. That's where it gets really creepy, and that's when he's in his strong suit, in his element, so to speak. But since it's not the case when you fight him here, you kind of have to just beat on him until he dies. Again, like I said, the only real attack he really has to worry about is his discharge attack, where he makes his whole body a thundery kind of thing. But for the most part, I mean, that's it. He's free. I ain't gonna front. He's free. Khezu no cave, free. Okay, not even tutorial worthy. Just hit him when he's not hitting. But when he's in a cave, that's when you got to worry about it, because he will go on the walls and do whatever he wants whenever he wants. But it's not the case today. But anyway, everyone, that's all I really have for you. I would go over all this stuff again, but just remember, hit him in the neck or in the head. Use fire when you do it. His armor is trash, and his thunder weapons are nice. It's been your boy. I'm talking to you on the next one.